All right, what's going on, guys? Can you guys hear me? Bring this in. All right, so today what we're going to do is we are going to basically do a quick intro on the atmosphere, okay? And what it has to do with weather, okay? So the atmosphere, the notes that I posted last night that I'm going to kind of go over today is it's basically layers of gases that surrounds the earth, okay? Um, so before we actually get into the atmosphere, we're just going to talk about what it's made of. All right. So it's a combination of nitrogen, oxygen, and then carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and methane. Okay. So the actual percent that you need to know is on the front of your reference table. Okay. So that's now you just have to be careful. You have to look at the atmosphere part and not the actual crust or the ocean or what the plates are made out of. Okay. So it's 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 1% mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and methane. Okay. Um, so we're actually going to go into the different layers. So there's actually 4 layers of the atmosphere, and we're just going to break it down. Okay. So you have the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, and the thermosphere. Okay. And this goes up by altitude. Okay. So I'm just going to put a stick figure here to show that this is the actual Earth. Okay. This is the surface. All right. So as you go up, altitude goes up. So what I want you guys to do, if you have it in front of you, is take out your Earth Science reference table. Okay. And we're basically going to go to page 14. So at the top of page 14, okay, you actually have this diagram up at the top, which has the 4 layers that I wrote up here, okay? What you'll also notice is it gives you the altitude, okay? And it gives it to you in kilometers and miles. And it shows you where they both stop and start for each layer as you go up, okay? Now, what you can also notice is at the bottom for the first part, it says temperature. All right. So we're going to show you how the temperature goes for each one of these layers. Once you know the first layer, it's actually very easy to know what's happening to temperature in each one of these. Okay. So for the troposphere, which is the first layer of the atmosphere going up. Okay. So we're starting on the ground. Your temperature, which I'm going to use in blue, is actually going down. All right. So as you go up, in altitude, the temperature in the troposphere goes down. All right. So think about it. If any of you have ever gone hiking before and you go up really high, Mount Everest, at the top of Mount Everest, snow was found. Okay. Snow is on the top of Mount Everest. A lot of the tall mountain ranges in the world have snow at the top because as you go up, temperature goes down. Okay. So that's in the troposphere. Now, when you go into the stratosphere, however, it reverses. Temperature now goes up with altitude. Okay. Mesosphere, it goes down, and then thermosphere, it goes up again. So basically, all you have to do to remember this is remember that the first part of the atmosphere, okay, your troposphere layer, temperature goes down, and then every time you enter a new layer, it flip-flops. So you're going down, then you're going up, you're going down, then you're going up again. Okay? All right, so that's basically what we're talking about when we're talking about just temperature. All right, now if you go through to the next one, it's going to tell you pressure. All right, so you'll notice that pressure at sea level, okay, which we basically are since we live on Long Island, all right, we're one atmosphere, okay, so this whole thing is one atmosphere. we're one atmosphere. As we go up in altitude, it's going to show you that basically pressure decreases. Okay. So that is consistent. With altitude, pressure always decreases as you go up. This is if you're ever in a plane and your ears pop, or if you're riding a roller coaster and you go up and down, sometimes you feel it in your eardrums. Okay. As you go up in altitude, you decrease in pressure. That's consistent. It doesn't flip flop every layer. Okay. The last one that you'll notice is water vapor. Okay. So, water vapor, if you notice, it basically dies out once you get into the stratosphere. You actually follow that line all the way across. Okay. That's because most of the water vapor in our atmosphere, basically all of it, is found in the troposphere. Okay. So the reason why this is important is if most of our water vapor is found in the troposphere, this basically is the reason why, all right, that our troposphere, this is where all the weather happens. Okay. All right. So, because when you think about cloud formation, all right, or you think about clouds, and when we were doing the water, no weather happening in these layers, they still have an important part to our atmosphere, but basically all the weather that ever happens is in the troposphere. Okay. And that's why the troposphere is important. Also, the reason why the troposphere is important is this is where we live. Okay. We don't live in the stratosphere, the mesosphere, or the thermosphere. All right. It is just in the troposphere. All right. Now, the stratosphere is important because the stratosphere actually, all right, I'm going to put this green line in here. The stratosphere is actually the holder, all right, of the ozone layer. Okay. So the ozone layer, and we're going to get into this again. This is just an intro. All right. This is the layer that absorbs basically ultraviolet rays, okay, from the sun. This is what protects us. All right. So without the ozone layer, we would get hit with direct rays from the sun, and it would be, it wouldn't be good for us. Okay. So the ozone layer is able to protect us. Now, we're going to get into it later, but sometimes with the ozone layer, it does catch too much rays from the sun, and that's where you get your greenhouse gases. Again, don't worry, we're going over this very quick. The only thing I want you guys really to get through this from this YouTube video is the 4 different layers and what they're composed of, all right? So far, we got the stratosphere. That's where we live. That's where weather occurs, okay? Temperature goes down. Now we have the stratosphere. It's the second layer going up. It is made of the ozone layer, all right? The ozone layer is inside of it, and temperature increases as you go up in altitude, okay? Now we're going to get into the mesosphere, all right? So the mesosphere is important for us, okay? Because as you can see, temperature decreases with altitude. But what makes it important is that meteors, all right, this is where they burn up. So if you ever seen a shooting star, okay, that is a meteor. Or if you ever see meteor shower, those are meteors that are entering our atmosphere that are burning up, okay? So the mesosphere protects us because we actually get a lot of meteors in our atmosphere, but because we have the mesosphere protecting us, they burn out before they ever go into any of the other layers, okay? So that's why the mesosphere is very important. If we were constantly getting hit with meteors, it wouldn't be good for the people that are living in the troposphere, okay? All right, so the thermosphere. This is our last layer, okay? Now, temperature also increases with altitude. This is where you have your space shuttles, all right, and your satellites, okay? Let's see. All right, so this is where they are orbiting the Earth, okay? Space shuttles and satellites, all right? So it could be anything. It could be, you know, satellites for defense systems of countries, or it could be, you know, DirecTV satellite floating up there. There's a lot of satellites that orbit the Earth, okay? Now, the one other thing that you have to know, all right, is this one line, okay? This line basically is called the exosphere, okay? Basically what this is the beginning of space, all right? So that is the beginning of it. If I could spell it right. Let's write outer space. All right, that's the start of it. Is the exosphere. So it's not really a layer, it's rather just the point that it goes to, okay? All right, so again, if you look at this diagram, you'll notice that here's where the temperature starts. It decreases, goes to the next one, increases, decreases, and increases. Also, when I made my diagram, I made them all the same size, but the troposphere is actually a lot smaller than the stratosphere, the mesosphere, and the thermosphere is actually the biggest layer, okay? So don't get confused with just my diagram, right? This is just for you guys to see it. All right, so those were the three things that I just want you to know, is that temperature decreases, increases, decreases, increases. Pressure decreases as you go up, regardless. And then most of our water vapor, basically all of it, is in the troposphere, okay? And that's all in the notes, all right? Now, when we're talking about weather, we're talking about the day-to-day conditions of the atmosphere, okay? So if I'm looking outside right now, it looks like it's sunny, a little bit of cloud coverage, all right? But that's basically the weather outside, okay? It could be different from you guys, all right? Because you guys are in a different town than me, but I would say it's probably the same by you, where it's a little cloudy, but it looks like it's a nice day outside, okay? So that's weather. Now, in the notes, we're going to talk about later on in the week the couple of instruments that we use in order to find out weather. So you have a thermometer. We're going to be talking about that. Barometer, okay, which is going to be the pressure. And again, I'm just going over this really quick because we're just doing an intro, all right? The one that we're going to be using in earth science is a psychrometer, okay? So the psychrometer basically finds out the humidity in the atmosphere, okay? So don't worry about, we're going to be doing this most likely on Friday, maybe Monday, okay? So since we're talking about humidity, that's the moisture in the atmosphere, okay? So I want to go over basically what I meant on the other YouTube video on Monday about high pressure and low pressure system, okay? So I'm actually going to erase all of this, all right? And again, this is just an overview. I'm going to have other notes that actually go into it, YouTube videos and assignments, okay? This is just a very brief overview of everything. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put an H, okay? So that's my high pressure system, all right? And this is my low pressure system, okay? So how I remember this is a high pressure system, okay, it always is going out. All right. So the arrows are always going out. Now, to remember which direction they're going, I always think high pressure system, think of a clock on the wall. Okay. So the clock is high on the wall. All right. And which direction do clocks usually go? Do they usually go clockwise or counterclockwise? Let's see if anyone's paying attention. Do clocks go clockwise or counterclockwise? See if anyone. I got two people watching. Let's see. So since we're talking about high pressure system, right? We got clockwise. It's going to be going like this. All right. So this is basically which way the wind is going. Okay. Now, a low pressure system is actually going to be the opposite. Okay. So a low pressure system is going to be, the arrows are going to be pointing into it, and it's going to be the opposite. So a high pressure system, all right, that is, okay, clockwise. A low pressure system is going to be counterclockwise. So it's actually going to go like this. All right. So high pressure system, always out. Okay. Always the wind is out. And it's going to eventually go, okay, because this is where they want to travel. It wants to go from high pressure to low pressure every time. All right. That's the way that wind travels. High pressure going to low pressure. Now, if we actually were to draw this out, let's say your wind over here, you're eventually going to go like this. You're going to travel, and now you go like this, and now you go into there. Okay. So since you're a high pressure system, again, we're going to go over this later in the week and next week. Since all that wind is going out in different directions, there's not a lot of cloud coverage. So basically, there's not going to be a lot of weather here because everything's getting pushed out. When we think about clouds, we think about rain. If everything's getting pushed out, this is going to be a nice clear day. Okay. Now here, all the wind and all of the moisture is basically going into a low pressure system. Okay. So since there's going to be so much water inside of here, this is where you get your clouds. This is where you get your heavy weather. Okay. So basically, two words, or I guess a statement to live by. High pressure system, right? If you know it's a high pressure system, this is high and dry. Okay. High and dry. Low pressure system, low and lousy. Okay. So high and dry, you're not going to get wet. There's not going to be any rain. Low pressure system, it's going to be lousy weather. Okay. That's how you can remember it. So the notes also went into air masses. We're not going to get into that just yet. I just posted it. I just care about basically the atmosphere. Okay. And then also just knowing that high pressure, it's clockwise, low pressure, it's counterclockwise. I do go into some of the other things that we're going to be talking about. But for right now, okay, this is all I care about for today. We're going to go over the last part of these slides on Friday, and then we'll start talking about some of the instruments in the coming weeks. All right. One other thing I want to show you guys, okay, really quick, as I make my way over. Since I know, everyone's kind of inside and not doing much, is this one thing I want to show you really quick. So up at the top, I'm actually going to put the link on the YouTube or on the SMART Goal Google Classroom. But what this is, it's called earthnullschool.net, okay? And basically, as soon as I get this loaded up, it's going to look something like this. So if you can actually look at it, you can get this on your cell phone. Okay. So what I can actually do is if I touch the earth button at the bottom, okay, I can pick what I want. So I'm going to do ocean. I'm going to do currents and drop that down. Okay. So now I get something like this. So this is actually showing me the ocean currents. So if I zoom this in, okay, and I give it enough time to load up, all right. I know it's a little blurry on the screen, but it's actually showing me this little path right here. This is the Gulf Stream coming up to us, okay, on Long Island. Whereas at the bottom, if you go to places up in the north, all right, a lot of that cold water, and it actually shows you that it's cold, is coming down from the North Pole, okay? So I thought this was kind of cool to play with. You don't also just have to do ocean currents. You can actually do air, okay? And since we're learning about the atmosphere, and you can put, let's see, on the surface, and then I can break this off. I can make this smaller. And now, if I go and I wait for it to load up, you can actually see where low pressures are forming, okay? So like right over here. You can actually see that they're spiraling in. And if you notice, they're actually turning in a counterclockwise way, okay? So that's showing you that it's a low pressure system. Whereas if I zoom out again, let's say, you can see where there's not that much action and it's actually in a clockwise way because that's a high pressure system. There's not a lot of water vapor going in through it, okay? So again, this is something you can check out. You can basically do it. You can change up the thing. And then I believe it gives you a little bit of space where you can actually go out to space and look at stuff. But I thought it was pretty cool. All right. So I'll, like this one, space, this shows the Northern Lights. Okay. So I'll put the link up on Google Classroom. I will also upload a little activity later today. But again, remember, this is just an intro to it. Okay. I'm not expecting you guys to know everything by heart off of the Google Slides. Okay. Because we're going to be doing this, the weather topic, it's a couple of weeks. All right. It's probably going to be like a month going through this. There's a lot of different processes for it. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before I go? Concerns? Any problems with Google Classroom so far? All right. Again, if you do come up with a question and you want to ask me, you can hit me on Remind. All right. You can send me a message on Google Classroom or you can send me an email. Okay. All three of those things work. All right. And I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. All right. I'll see you guys later. Stay safe.